the epic new Swift. Time to go swifting.
Two teams with a proud track record of lasting long in this competition. One over the course of a celebrated decade and more, the other through a credible start to life in the IPL. They met in the eliminator last season, and yet they both find themselves eliminated before the final weekend of league stage play in IPL 2024. Welcome to Maruti Suzuki Arena, presents ESPN Cricket for Timeout, powered by JBL. Match number 67 might not have a lot riding on it as far as the points table goes, but it gives us a chance to dissect just where things went wrong for Mumbai Indians and Lucknow Super Giants. So strap in, as we intend to do that over the next half hour or so, in the company of Mitchell McClenaghan, Varun and Dustin Silgardo. Good evening, gentlemen. Mitch, happy to have Varun back, the season leader.
Varun, and also, Dustin, you've got the right coloured shirt on today as well. Those yesterday, you just blended into that couch, so it's nice to see you in the appropriate attire.
I went shopping today.
And you're looking sharp, I love it.
Thank you.
About time, since seeing that we're reaching the end of the season. It's always a game that this part of the season always has us wondering from the outside how tough it is for teams and players to rock up when there's not a lot on the line. Your thoughts, Varun, on just how these games pan out?
I don't think it's tough at all because the IPL is a premier T20 competition in the world. Anybody who gets a chance to play in it should be really happy and should be really grateful. And whenever they step out onto the ground, they should be wanting to do their best. And especially Mumbai Indians today, because they're playing in front of their home crowd, they would want to prove something to the fans, make the fans happy. Because when we talk about fans, I think the Mumbai fans are second to none, actually, because they turn up every game, support their team when they're winning or losing. They're pretty much like the Bangalore fans. Whenever RCB plays, their fans come out in great numbers and proper support. And if not anything, Mumbai Indians should play for their fans today. LSG, on the other hand, they would be disappointed because they genuinely had a good chance to get to the playoffs. But there's still a lot of players, domestic players especially, in their ranks who want to prove something in this game.
Yeah, given that this is also the end of an auction cycle, in that sense, this game still has that amount of significance. It's perhaps the last time this group of players is playing together for both sides.
Yeah, huge amount, sentimental-wise, in terms of the signing off as a cycle. But also today, if you get an opportunity to play today, this is your spotlight. Your spotlight for the next auction to show the owners that maybe you should have been playing a few more games throughout the cycle if you haven't played much throughout this season, and also for any teams out there who are looking to go shopping next year. It's a great little stage for any players who are playing today to put their best foot forward. So there's a lot to play for today. Like Varun said, it's a game of pride. You're not just playing for yourselves, but you're playing for your fans. And from a Lucknow point of view, you're right. They've got a very good squad. They've got a lot of depth in terms of their squad, and probably one of the teams that's been most hampered by this impact sub-rule because they have a lot of options and they don't have as many weaknesses in their squad as a lot of other sides do if we were playing probably a lower strike rate type form of T20 cricket. So you do feel for them, but they had opportunities this year to change the style of cricket that they were playing when they saw how the competition was going, and I think they were just a little bit slow on that uptake.
What are you most looking forward to as we see MI and LSG one last time this season?
Well, obviously, there's a few India players that you hope are in good form. It's always great to watch Surya Kumar Yadav bat. So him, and then the captain Hardik Pandya. Can he hit a bit of batting form before the World Cup? I guess that's something to look forward to.
Yeah, among that World Cup crew, and MI have quite a few players. We do know that one won't be featuring. Jasprit Bumrah not playing this one. We'll get you team news in just a bit. The news from the toss was that on a chasing friendly ground, Hardik Pandya winning the toss and opting to bowl. Lucknow will take first strike. But before we look at Lucknow, we think this is a good opportunity for us to assess Mumbai, and not just their season, which has already been dissected a fair bit, given that they ran out of playoff contention earlier than most expected, but also this auction cycle, and one which has been easily MI's most disappointing auction cycle when you look at the results. Never had MI had a single auction cycle where they had more losses than wins, but that happens this time around, a cycle where if they aren't to get the win in this last outing, they will finish with 2 wooden spoons in 3 years. One playoff finish, of course, in 2023, But perhaps even more worryingly, Varun, when we look at the next set of numbers, they are also within this auction cycle the side with the worst win-loss ratio.
I think one of the biggest factors to that are injuries, because if you see Jofra Archer, they did hedge a lot on him for being that person who complements Jasprit Bumrah and gets the rewards when it comes to their bowling. If you see, more than anything, their bowling has been really lacking, because there's been nobody who could even come close to Bumrah in any of the seasons. There have been people who've chipped in here and there, but Bumrah has been standing out by leaps and bounds. So if you have to win an IPL, you have to have your bowling group intact. And Jofra Archer was a very big part of that, especially with the way he performed for Rajasthan coming out of that cycle into the next one. But he wasn't there, and obviously they've changed the captain. That hasn't really worked out for them. And it's a mix of a lot of things. And I think the second biggest mix is definitely the spinners. They've just not recruited any solid, proper spinner with a lot of international experience in their ranks. They have Piyush Chawla, yes, but Piyush Chawla has been hot and cold. He's reaching he's reached his twilight of his career. So they really need to look into their spin attack, their bowling attack, out and out, because they've got some really good batters in there.
Yeah, those are the specifics that we will focus on in just a bit, the parts of the puzzle which didn't fall together. But just looking at it broadly, it's been quite easy this season to just look at that big trade and the decision to change the captaincy and, lay the blame on that. But these numbers over a period of 3 years tell you, Mitch, that perhaps there were mistakes made right at the start of the cycle, and as a result, you saw these returns.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like Varun said, they put all their chips on Jofra Archer and Bumrah being a bowling combination, and they knew the first year that Jofra wasn't going to be there, right? So they were hoping that by year 2 and year 3, that party would be united. And Jasprit was injured the second year of this cycle. Jofra was in and out, had some elbow issues, and wasn't really anywhere near his best. And then he was obviously injured towards the end and couldn't be included in this year's IPL as well. So they had big plans, and they were probably thinking, can we get through and maybe compete for a win in our first year? And if not, that's okay. But years 2 and 3, with the decisions they made at the big auction, they would have been hoping to be in the finals and compete to win both of those titles. So long-term planning, which didn't come to fruition, and that can happen sometimes, right? They were trying to unite two of the best death bowlers in world cricket, and because that is a key attribute to bowling well at Wonkitty, having bowlers who execute death bowling really well. So you can see the thinking around it. It just didn't come out in the long-term planning as how they would have liked.
Dustin, thoughts on just how this cycle went?
I mean, to be honest, I've stopped thinking that IPL success and lack of success is dependent on the auction. So for me, I don't think, personally, if you look at, for example, this season, who predicted KKR would be leading the playoffs based on the auction? Everyone said they had invested too much in Stark. So I think it's more the intangibles that have maybe gone wrong for Mumbai. Even this season, if you looked at their bowling attack, if you compared that to a lot of the other bowling attacks, I would have said that, especially seam bowling, they were right up there. On paper, Bumrah, Madwal, who did well last season, Coetzee, Hardik. To me, on paper, that's better than Stark, Harshit, Vaibhav Arora, and Andre Russell. On paper, looking at the start of the season. But
they've got Narayan and Varun.
Sure, but on the spinners point, SRH and RCB haven't invested in spinners, and we might see them both in the playoffs this season, right? So I don't know if it's just personnel. I think there might be something else to it. We have heard ex-Mumbai players, and Mitch would know more about this, talking about the pressure of playing for Mumbai because it's such a big franchise with such a history of winning. Is there a little bit of anxiety in that dressing room? I look at someone like a Madwal, right? Last season, he had a few big performances, and already you're talking about him being the next Bumrah, playing for India. You don't have that kind of hype for a Vaibhav Arora or a Harshit Rana when they're not at Mumbai Indians. Does that maybe then hamper the progress of some of the players who are coming through? Because Mumbai Indians have this legacy of providing India so many players. Does every young player coming through then think that, okay, the pressure's on me now? Could that be one of the issues with their player development, for example?
Yes and no. I think you learn very quickly at Mumbai how to deal with pressure, and I think that sets players when they get to that international level above other players, because you haven't had the pressure of that international vibe of pressure playing for your country brings. When you talk about Mudwell, he's probably an interesting case example because he doesn't get a really good run domestically, does he? So he's basically come into this year's IPL off the back of not a lot of cricket. And that would have hampered him at the start of the season. So I guess that's probably a different example. I think he probably needs to get more exposure at the domestic level, consistency, because he is a good bowler. He just needs people to back him, like Rohit backed him last year. And yeah, it's very difficult when you talk about that. I think probably what the real stepping hurdle, or the hurdle for them this year, has been when you lose the likes of Jason Berendorf, Madhushankar before this year's IPL even starts. You've lost a lot of experience, and then your overseas players who are coming in to fill those roles, even Tushara, like they're not as experienced as those guys, the likes of that. So straight away there, what you rely on your overseas players for, on the whole, is to have that international experience, have that ability to deal with pressure in tough situations, and they have kind of the glue that holds your side together. In those tough situations, you can give them the ball, and ideally, you'd only like to have one or two of these young, up-and-coming superstars in your lineup so they can fit into a 10-man or 11-man team, but 10 of those players can absorb pressure and take the pressure off you so you can perform. Unfortunately, throughout this season, there's been too many players who are still trying to find their way in IPL and even in cricket, their cricketing journeys. There's too many of those players that have been playing and being put into tough situations, which ideally you want more experience players around them to be able to help them through that journey.
We'll continue this larger conversation around Mumbai Indians and how this last cycle went, but let's first find out how they're lining up for their last game of this IPL 2024 campaign. There are quite a few changes. Jasprit Bumrah has been rested for the last game, which means Arjun Tendulkar gets his first look this season. There is no room for Tim David. Romario Shepherd comes in place of him. Hardik Pandya also said that Tilak Varma is out injured, which means that there is room for Devil Brevis. That's possibly among the least experienced pace bowling setups MI have played in a long time, Varun. Anshul Kamboj, Arjun Tendulkar, Nuwan Tushara to go with Romario Shepherd.
Yeah, games like these also, though it's an important game for Mumbai Indians, it's also a chance to give their bench a go, because as a player, you don't want to be sitting out for every single game. And I'm sure Arjun would have wanted a game this IPL, and they've been gracious enough to give him this last game, because it doesn't really change their position on the table much. So it's a good way to have a look at somebody who invested time and money in actually giving him a game.
Yeah, notable name on the impact bench, Rohit Sharma. Who knows, it could be the last time we see him in MI colours. So I'd imagine there's no doubt about who comes in when they bat second.
Yeah, I mean, I think they did this once previously in the season as well. So that seems to be the clear impact sub.
All right, let's quickly look at how Lucknow are lining up. KL Rahul did seem to suggest there are a few changes they've made. And you see one right at the top, no Quinton de Kock, Devdutt Padikkal, whose start to life at LSG after that trade from Rajasthan Royals hasn't been a great one, but I don't think he got a chance to open at any stage. He gets that now, and Matt Henry gets a game ahead of Naveen ul Haq. Thoughts? Anyone you would have wanted to see in this last game from Lucknow?
I think it's a really good team, especially with Matt Henry coming in. I really enjoy Matt Henry's bowling. He's one of the better new ball bowlers in the world. He gets it to deck around, not just in the air, but off the wicket really well. Devdutt Padikkal has had a very, very cold season. He would have been looking to come into the season and create a real impact, but he's had a string of scores which weren't really good. This is a good opportunity for him to stamp his authority, and especially going into the next auction, leaving people with an image of him scoring runs rather than not scoring runs.
5 bowling options, if you look at that card, not counting Stoinis, and with 3 overseas. So they're kind of leaving it open. Can get Naveen ul Haq to the bowling side. Also,
I'll tell you what. I mean, we've seen enough of Naveen this year. The tournament's done for luck now. I think in this situation, you ideally would have liked to have seen Siddharth bowl again. I think he's a very good prospect. I think it would be nice. I mean, he still can come into this side, which would be good for him. They've left the overseas option available, so probably more than likely to go Naveen. But if they don't, Siddharth would be nice just to see him get another opportunity. He's got good skill, and you want other teams, and Lucknow will want to see him before next year as well. I guess the interesting one there is that they've gone with 3 overseas players, and I can understand that they're going to give Padadal an opportunity at the top, which they probably should have done when they took him out of the side. He went from 3, and he's a genuine opener, right? So they probably should have let him try at the top. But in that one there, when they've got 3 overseas players, and you could probably drop Mosen out of that side, that starting side, and play like a Turner, and give him an opportunity, because that was a big signing by JL, right? JL said, this is the guy that we need. He's played with him at the Scorchers. Want to see what he's done. And he only got 2 games opportunity. So they had an opportunity for him to get more exposure in the IPL, and for them to see if they can't retain someone like a Stoinis next year, they're probably not going to be able to buy him back. So Turner's one of those middle order options that you want to see how they fare in the IPL.
All right, let's pivot back to Mumbai Indians auction cycle review. And Varun Aaron touched upon the absence of spinners in the side they originally built and through the sides they've had in this campaign. And when you look at this auction cycle, there's not been any team with lesser wickets for spin. You do have SRH and Punjab who have taken fewer wickets, but these are sides who had the pace resources to go in with. Mumbai didn't have spinners and banked on Bumrah plus overseas pacers, and when you look at these 3 years, not having the spinners has paid its price.
Does this count the bouncer that Piyush Chawla bowled to Andre Russell as a wicket
Yes,
taken by
it does.
spin? Yeah, but I mean, then on the one hand, we're saying that Mumbai don't have experience, but then in the spin department, you have experience with Piyush Chawla. And by the way, they did have Mayank Markande, M. Ashwin, Ritik Shaukin, so they bought a bunch of spinners for the first season. None of them sort of panned out. And like I said, I think there are multiple teams who don't invest that much in spin in the IPL.
You know what? They had a really good option in the spinner from Rajasthan, Manas Sutar, in this auction. They could have picked him. Really, really bright future. I mean, I look at him as a really good investment, really good spinner, but they didn't. So when you're talking about auctions, they have gone wrong in auctions by not picking some really good talent from the pool that existed.
Yeah, and you can't lose sight of the fact that when you look at those 65 wickets that they have in this auction cycle, 32 of them came from Piyush Chawla, who was a panic buy at the 2023 auction. He didn't even feature in 2022. So,
yeah, he's done really well, hasn't he? I mean, last year's season was exceptional, and then this year they brought Shreyas. Shreyas got an opportunity after Piyush started the season, and both those players are actually very good leg spinners. And
Shreyas actually did decently.
They've done well. So when we're saying they don't have the spin resources, they've actually got some very good Indian spinners in their lineup. They've just been a little bit reluctant to play them, and the benefit, one of those spinners has to be able to bat. That's the problem. If you're going to play 2 spinners, at Wankhede, you can't afford for that second spinner not be able to use the bat. And I know Piyush can hit the ball and Shreyas can to a degree, but you really want someone who can really make a bit more of an impact with the bat as your second spinner, because the likelihood at Wankhede and some of the other grounds around the IPL is that spinner might only bowl 2 overs every now and again.
Was Krunal the brother that they were supposed to bring back?
Well,
you said spinner who can bat. So
I think back to Harbhajan.
Right.
Harbhajan's impact with the bat towards the end of the innings was very significant in a lot of games, and he contributed. And then Krunal carried that on. So that's the type of blueprint you need to start looking at. And there's a lot of spinners out there like that who can be that 2 over. Like Shabazz comes to mind. Someone who can bowl 2 overs and have an impact with the bat.
Swapnil Singh.
Swapnil, these types of players are the types of players you're looking for your second spinner. And any young spinner out there, finger spinner in particular, should be looking to become the best batsman they can become, because that's what's missing in Indian cricket, a middle to lower order batsman who can bowl a couple overs to spin effectively.
right, so spin was one part of it, of course, and there are other teams who, as you saw, have taken fewer wickets to spin, but when you look at Sunrisers, they had a pace bowling complement of Cummins with Natarajan and Bhuvneshwar Kumar, a Punjab who had Rabada with Harshal and Arshdeep and Sam Curran. Mumbai, as far as pace goes, had Bumrah and not a lot else. And it's not for lack of trying, because they've gone through this auction cycle using 14 different overseas pacers. It has been MI's strategy for a long time. This is a team which has typically had two overseas pacers key to their success, one of them sitting right next to you from a certain part of MI's glorious years. But when you look at that kind of a number, 14 overseas pacers trialed and no one given a big enough run, what does that point to you?
Look, first of all, the Wankhede is not an easy place to bowl in, just like the Chinnaswamy. So it's important for the team to actually invest and look that if the bowler who's playing has actually not executed his plans or has he bowled badly. That's the first thing you do when you play in stadiums like the Wankhede and Chinnaswamy, because sometimes as a bowler, you can bowl really, really well and you can go for 45 plus.
Yep.
You know, so the only way you can assess and keep giving somebody a chance or not giving them a chance is seeing how they're executing. Would I be right?
Yep. Yeah, no, you're bang on. It's a ground where you have to have a certain set of skills, and it's also one of those grounds like Chinnaswamy. If you have a bowling attack that's they're all very similar, then all of your bowlers will go to distance. And when I say that, like if you've only got swing bowlers who come in that lower trajectory and skid along the surface, if every one of your bowlers is similar to that, you're going to struggle because it's a wicket that when you get in on this wicket, particularly in the second innings, it becomes very easy to get a tempo on that wicket and easy to clear the boundaries. So your bowlers have all got to have different skills, and I think that's probably what the difference has been, is that they've built their squad and they haven't had the ability to get different types of bowlers into the same lineup working together.
Mumbai's pattern has always been to have a good left-arm seamer to complement Bumrah. This time they hedged their bets on Berendorf. He obviously couldn't play. Then they got the young bowler from South Africa, Mapaka. Yeah, he was there. He played a game. He got caught in one of the biggest batting storms of the IPL, which was just quite sad for a newbie to just come into that kind of onslaught.
Yeah, Luke
Wood struggled. So they've just not got that after Mitchell Johnson and both the Mitches. They haven't got that overseas good left arm seamer.
Boldy's the miss, right?
Boldy's a huge miss.
You know, they put the eggs in Jofra's basket.
Yeah.
And that if both Jofra and Bumrah were available,
would have been gun.
There would have been gun, because then you could have had a Berendorf come in as that third seamer, and that's a very good attack.
Yeah.
But because that didn't pan out, choosing Jofra over Trent Bolt is for this cycle, in hindsight, is probably one of the things that's let them down.
Yeah, and the cruel irony is Jofra Archer and Trent Bolt went for the exact same amount at the 2022 mega auction, 8 crore. But you look at the returns from these several overseas pacers tried in this 3-year cycle by Mumbai, and you also have to factor in that perhaps two of the big names are missing because they didn't play that much. Jofra Archer as the original signing, as well as Dilshan Madhushankar, who this year could have made such a difference. When you look at that, what does that tell you, Dustin?
I mean, again, I'm not sure why they kept chopping and changing. For example, I think Gerald Coates is actually a damn good bowler, and he's bowled well this season. I think to Varun's point of sometimes at the Wankhede, your actual numbers don't suggest how well you've bowled. Like Coates has bowled some really good spells this season. And yeah, I guess injuries have hampered them and they've kind of had to chop and change their bowling. But again, I come back to the point that at the beginning of every season, I still look at them and think that they've got a good overseas bowling contingent.
Yeah, keep those numbers up, because those numbers are very important. Their strike rate, very good strike rate, T20 cricket. So don't take the economy into consideration too much, because we've seen this year's being completely different in terms of the score. So even with that table you had before, you've got to have some kind of relevance in terms of what's actually happened this year. In particular, this is the season, I mean, probably since 2018, I think the discrepancy in sixes to this point is like 300 extra sixes. Yeah. So that's how quickly the game's changed. So that's going to affect the economy rate. What he does do is he takes wickets, he comes in with 100% energy, and he forces batters to make mistakes. And that's reflected in the wickets and also the strike rate. So, yep, I think he's a very good prospect. When you watch him with the naked eye, he every now and again, he just loses one ball wide and it ends up being a free cut. So for him, it's increasing his accuracy, because once he gets that accuracy right and doesn't give that one bad ball an over or every 2 overs, then he's a super dangerous prospect. And that's where the increase in economy rate is for him. That's what's dragging him down. So I think he's a high quality. I thought he was a great signing at the auction. I still think he's a great signing. And what saw as the season went on and when the pressure got on, what did happen was that if he went for that one big over, he wasn't brought back. Or he was brought back too late to have an impact on the game. And sometimes with players like Gerald Coetzee, you have to actually go, okay, that one over, I've got to look at the balls like you were saying.
Yeah.
Did he execute? Did he challenge the batter? And go, well, Rajasthan's example with Jaiswal, it's probably a great example because that over, he really troubled Jaiswal. And then Jaiswal got one off the blade over the keeper, and then he hit a nice shot off the back foot the last ball. He didn't get brought back until like the 16th, 17th over after that. And he looked threatening. He looked on that night, and he could have broken that game apart. And you've just got to understand that next over, yes, the first one went for 15, but their next over could have gone for 7, and he could have taken 2 wickets. And you've got to back a player in like that because he's a high-impact player.
All right, fair enough. We're almost set to have the start of the game. I tell you what, we had a lot more factored in, but I guess it makes sense when you're trying to unpack an entire season's worth of what has gone wrong. We will touch upon LSG later in the day. There's a lot of pieces from Lucknow and what didn't work out for them, which we will touch upon in our later shows on Friday night. But for the time being, it's time for us to head into the impact zone. Know the drill by now. Every panelist will pick 3 players from each game, a batter, a bowler and a wild card. Impact points for each player counted as per ESPN Cricket for Smart Stats, a smarter way to view T20 cricket. And the expert with the highest points tally for each match gets 3 points added to their season tally. Right. Mitch, Varun. Mitch, you've been winning a lot, so we will give Varun first strike today.
I will go
Your
with
batter. Oh, you
KL
get to
Rahul.
pick. Okay.
batter.
I will go with Surya Kumar Yadav.
Dustin.
Let's go for Tilak Verma is playing today, isn't he? Oh, no, he's not.
He's in
No,
the-
he's
So I'll go, why not his replacement, Dual Brevis?
Brevis, wow, okay. Mitch with the bowlers.
I will go for... I will go for Matt Henry.
Matt Henry. Dustin, your bowler.
Nuwan Tushara.
Nuwan Tushara. Varun.
Ravi Bishnoi.
Ravi Bishnoi. And into wildcards with Dustin.
Let's just say Hardik Pandya.
Oh. Mitch.
I'll go Nicholas Puran.
Ooh, that was going to be my pick.
And Varun.
I will go with Ishan Kishan.
Ishan Kishan. Okay, who am I left with? I am definitely picking Rohit Sharma, and hopefully they do get him on as impact sub. Rohit Sharma, let's go with... Who else is there?
Arjun.
Arjun Tendulkar is playing this one. I'll go with Piyush Chawla. You know, it might be his last game also for MI.
Kamboja has been good.
So Rohit,
He's been very good.
Rohit, Piyush Chawla, and I will close it out with... No one's gone for Stoinis, so I'll take Stoinis.
It's a good one.
Nice.
All right, let's quickly get a score prediction and an outrageous pick. Mitch.
Score prediction, they will get 196,
All right.
and both KL and Nicholas Puran will get 40 plus.
KL and Puran 40 plus. I think I can take that.
They're going to score 212.
All right.
KL's going to get 100.
KL 100. He does have one at Wankhede.
2.
Oh, 2 at Wankhede. Wow.
So I'll go completely opposite. I'll say they get 177
Okay.
and LSG lose 4 wickets in the power play.
4 down in the
Wow.
power play. Wow. Okay.
On an early night.
We got a good range
South.
thanks to Dustin's call. And
Haridal's
So that's one.
fortunately, the wicket lost is not KL Rahul, so both of you are still interested. And I'm now glad I didn't pick Devdutt Padikkal. All right. Thank you, gentlemen, for your company. Look forward to it through the rest of this Friday evening. Be sure to join us. We do have a lot more to unpack as far as Lucknow season is concerned. We'll do that over the course of Friday evening. Be sure to join us a little later then on Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricinfo Timeout, powered by JBL. Download the ESPN Cricinfo mobile app. It'll have you covered with all the fastest scores and a lot more. The few scenarios for those interested in what margins RCB need against CSK on Saturday, you'll find that on the app, so do check it out. We'll see you in 20 overs time.
Introducing the epic new Swift. Time to go swifting.